Well, welcome back everybody to the 90-day challenge for unleashing the elite leader within you. This is the fourth video out of 24. We are in April and our 1950s technology. We are climbing the pyramid. This is our fourth video. Here we go. If I could show you a way to be happier, less depressed, less anxious, have lower blood pressure, improved immune function, and fewer visits to the doctor, have better relationships, improved memory, and more success at work, would you be interested? Our leadership lesson for today is the journaling principle. Journaling? Are you serious? To accomplish all of these crazy things, improved immune system, fewer visits to the doctor, you gotta be kidding me. Well, let me tell you a really interesting story. In fact, this story is probably one of the articles that I have forwarded more than any other article that I've ever shared with friends and professional relationships that I've had. And it's from 2016 and it's called You Can Write Your Way Out of an Emotional Funk. Here's how. The article starts out with this really interesting story about this distinguished professor at the University of Texas named James Pennebaker. It said he got married in the early 70s, but 3 years after his marriage, he and his wife started to question their relationship. He was confused, he was unsettled, he sank into a depression, he ate less, drank more, and actually started smoking. And he was more and more isolated. Well, one morning, as the story goes, about a month into this decline, he sat down at a typewriter and started the machine. He stared at the machine for a moment and then started writing freely and frankly about his marriage, his parents, his sexuality, his career, and even his death. As he wrote and continued to write in the days that followed, something fascinating happened. His depression lifted and he felt liberated. He began to reconnect with his deep love for his wife, but the writing had an even farther reaching impact. For the first time, he started to see the purpose and the possibilities in his life. So if you remember, this is April. This is a month that we are focused on investing in ourselves. And so this is the perfect time for us to start thinking about, how do I begin to journal? Well, as the story goes on, this kicked off 40 years of research for Pennebaker. 40 years of research, and what he studied was the links between writing and emotional processing, which is why I think it's so important that this is included in our leadership principles so that you begin to form the habit of writing. And in a minute, I'll tell you exactly how to do this very specifically. But there's one experiment that I think was most fascinating. There was one study that was of particular interest to me. It was a study about a Dallas computer company that laid off 100 people, mostly men that had been there for many, many years, mostly since college, about age 50. And after 3 months, none of them had found jobs. And you could imagine the confusion and the financial panic that was setting in. So he said, okay, I'm gonna do some research on this group of men. So he took this group of 100 men, broke them into 3 groups. And the first group, he said, I want you to journal about being laid off, to delve into your feelings of humiliation and rejection and outrage, the related strains on their health and their marriages and their finances and their deep worries about their future. You know what he did for the other 2 groups? He said, I want you to journal about time management, and I want this other group to journal about nothing at all. He didn't even give them an assignment. It was the control group. Well, you guessed it. The group that journaled about their emotions and their feelings and their honesty were 3 times more likely to have been reemployed compared with those that had not. Not only did the writing help the men process their experiences, it helped them to step out from their despondent inertia and into meaningful action. What is so interesting is the writers who thrive the most began to develop insight using phrases such as, "I've learned," or "It struck me that," "The reason that," or "I now realize," or "I understand." In the process of writing, they were able to create the distance between the thinker and the thought, the feeler and the feeling, that allowed them to gain a new perspective, to unhook and to move forward. So here's a guy, a distinguished professor who's been researching this link between writing and emotional processing for 40 years. I think it's a guy that I would want to listen to, right? And so here's Pennebaker's writing rules, because everybody always says, "I started journaling and then I stopped," or they say, "I don't know what to write about." Others say, "I don't have time," and I don't ever buy that, because I look at how much wasted time I read the news, or I read Facebook or Instagram. Craziness, the amount of time we waste, and we can take 20 minutes to do this. So here you go. Here's your call to action for this video. Pennebaker's writing rules. Number one, set a timer for 20 minutes, right? You need some depth of thought. We talked about that last video, the idea of chronic partial engagement. We need you engaged in this. So set your timer for 20 minutes. Open your notebook or begin a document on your computer, they said. When the timer starts, begin writing about your emotional experiences from the past week, or the past month, or the past year. This I thought was interesting, and I've been doing this for about a year now. Don't worry about punctuation or sloppiness or coherence. That might be easy for some of us, right? Simply go wherever your mind takes you, curiously and without judgment. Write just for yourself, not for some eventual reader. This is not a like something you're going to hand down to your grandkids. Do this for a few days, then close the document without saving it, or throw the paper away, or stick it in a bottle and cast it out to sea. Or if you're really ready, start a blog and find a literary agent. It doesn't matter. The point is that those thoughts are now out of you and on the page. You've begun the process of stepping out from your experience and gaining perspective on it. This is what the best journals look like. They aren't for the reader, they're for the writer, to slow the mind down, to wage peace with oneself. Blessings on waging peace with oneself. Let's start journaling.